Hey you, Carly here, back with another episode of Gender Pop. I'm really excited to bring this one to you as it's something a little different and it's the first non-film episode. I'll be discussing the book series The Dresden Files with author Blaylock. This took me back to my kind of book report days, but somehow without Miss Blinken standing over my shoulder, it was much easier and way more enjoyable to do. So why don't we just dive right in? Hi, Di. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Hi.
I'm really
Good to be
excited
here,
for this
Carly.
one. Yeah, I'm really excited, like I told you before, because it is the first non-film one, something dealing with a different kind of medium and art form. And I really, when I started this podcast, I really wanted to like incorporate all the different mediums so we could get like such an overview of how gender plays into all the things that we consume. So when you suggested this one, I was really happy to to hear it. We will be discussing the book series The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. And I'll just start off by asking you why you chose this to discuss.
Full disclosure, it's because I wanted to fuss about it.
Hey, that is perfectly valid.
Because me and my husband, Michael, we've been reading these together. He'll read them out loud to me while I knit. I
That's
think we're
so
on,
cute. I love it.
I think we're on 13 out of the 17 that have been published. And
Right.
I think I've gotten like 5 projects done in that time.
Hey,
But
it's
like,
productive.
most part, for the most part, like the stories are really engaging and like
Mm.
there's a lot going on. The world building is really fun because it's all set in Chicago, modern day, da 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 da. But then you got Harry,
Then the problems start.
and like he like overall like he's a fun character because he just kind of charges headfirst into everything, and then he has to deal with the consequences for months at a time. So it's a lot of fun to see him keep running into the same walls, and you're like, oh, poor stupid Harry.
Well, I guess I'll just kind of give like a very vague well, full transparency, like I also told you, I haven't read the book series. I've, tried to research it as much as I can and everything. So if my synopsis is a little off or whatever, you can fill in the cracks of whatever. But it's about a detective. Well, he's not a detective. He's kind of like a consultant
Yeah,
for
he's
the
like a private
Chicago
eye.
PD or
Hmm.
Private Eye, and it's set in modern day. Well, the book series started in 2000, I believe. So has it, I guess it's continued to just be modern day with each iteration for whatever year it is. Okay, because I was like, I say modern day, but 2000 isn't modern anymore. Um, and he helps them out when they have kind of supernatural, fantastical cases that they don't really know how to solve. Is that about
Yeah.
the base kind of? Okay.
That's kind of how it all starts out. And then like as the stories progress, it's like, oh, we're kind of getting away from like Chicago PD, and now we're getting into, oh crap. Oh, it's the entire city of Chicago needs help. And it just keeps getting worse. So it's fun, but yeah, that's about right.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it obviously seems like it's a very rich and involved universe, and it seems like it has every sort of fantastical character you can think of, like werewolves and vampires and wizards and
Yeah.
all things that I probably never even heard of or are in it and stuff. So it really runs the gamut of, I guess, creatures, or you can, I mean, obviously it allows it to just kind of keep going on forever there and stuff, but it
For
also
sure.
is interesting in that I'm trying to, well, I guess other things I've discussed have had fantastical elements, but maybe not to quite this extent. And I think that provides for very interesting discussion because it's similar to like certain sci-fi things where it's like you have the genre of fantasy, you can really do anything you want with it, and yet somehow, just because it's still a human writing it, our human flaws and biases and stuff still get
For
incorporated into these
sure.
worlds where you can really do anything. So, and in this world, it's like when it involves all of that, and yet one of the most kind of pronounced characteristics of it seems to be the misogyny that seems to rear its head with the main character Harry and how the female characters are portrayed. So, um, when do you recall, like, as you were making your way through the series, like the first time that really stuck out to you and what your reaction to it was?
It was the first book.
Right away.
It was so funny because there's this indie author I follow. Her name's Liz Shipton. And she does these goofy videos where she'll write like, women written by men, and they're like so over the top, but they're kind of on the nose. And so be like, she smelled like cinnamon and da 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 da, and her eyes were this color, da da da. I'm like super sensual, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
The whole time Jim Butcher is describing a woman on page, I kid you not, he said cinnamon, and I died. I was like,
It's like, oh, the
where's Liz?
stereotype is real. Like,
So funny. Like he just went on and waxed poetic about how sexy she was and all legs and boobs and blah blah blah. And I'm just sitting there knitting, going, what
really?
is going on? And my husband goes, it gets worse.
So at least he warns you.
Hey, why are we reading this?
Yeah, it's like, oh man, it stinks when you're like enjoying it and you're starting to get immersed in it, and then it's just like a record scratch of like, really, this is like the breasted boobily kind of meme come to life. uh,
Exactly. Thankfully, it kind of calms down a bit after like book four, I think. And then it kind of comes back, and I'm
oh
like,
no.
dude. So there have been a few points where we just kind of look at each other and go, Mr. Butcher was working some things out.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because it definitely is one of those things where it's like using the art to look at the artist. And in the course of my reading fan opinions of this and stuff, I mean, there's a big division. It definitely seems where people are just like, it's just the character, it's just a flaw. Like that doesn't, we should be open to having characters that aren't likable or blah blah blah. And then other people who have basically accused Jim Butcher of just like espousing his sexist views through the books and like does he believe it? Does he not? It's a hard thing to know. I mean I
Yeah,
don't know much about him, but
I don't either. We just kind of poke fun at him as at his expense.
yeah, it's interesting because like you were saying, like obviously the biggest things that come up around this when I was looking it up is these just descriptions of all the women and how it's always just about their attractiveness and what they could do to be more attractive or how much he wants to sleep with them or not. All this stuff and it's a
Well,
stark comparison to the male characters' descriptions.
uh-huh. Well, and it was so funny because so we were reading through because they also release short stories that go like between the main novels, and there was one written from the viewpoint of one of the bad guys, and he's like this mafia boss, and it's just super interesting. But as soon as it got to the description, I was like, oh, here we go. They didn't do that because it was a different person. And he was like, okay, she was very businesslike. There was no, like, she was all leg and butt and da da da. It was okay. She was wearing a sharp suit and she looks like she should kick somebody's ass. I was like, he
Finally.
is capable of writing a woman in a normal way. Look at that. Ah! So it just frustrated me when we got to that. And I was like, now, wait a minute.
He can't do it and he's like now it just seems like a choice.
And this is late in the series. Like, I think this was between books 12 and 13, something like that. Like, it
Okay.
was late. And I was like, come on, you could have been giving this to me forever.
It's like maybe he's started to learn, or maybe he got some of that feedback and it seeped in. Or, I mean, because you said it was a mafia boss. Was she, I'm curious if she was kind of written to be more masculine in the way that she moves through because I could see that kind of affecting.
Um,
Okay.
no, because and from Harry's point of view, she's very sexy and very
Okay.
tall
Okay.
and blonde and Scandinavian, da 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 da. And I'm like, oh my God, stop.
Oh, yeah, that's frustrating when you know that it's possible and then it just kind of backslides into
That's just like,
uh
oh man, you're so close.
well, I'm curious because I see that he has like a female partner,
Hmm.
Murphy,
So
and
there,
yeah,
yeah,
how does it deal with that? Because I mean, I imagine she's a very prominent character
she
throughout.
is.
And
And
so
she kind
does,
of,
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting because like the first few books, you can see Harry kind of like not quite poo-pooing her,
Mm,
but like how do I want to say this? You can tell he views her in a slightly lesser way. Like he kind of sees her as an equal almost. And it's like just shy, but it's because she doesn't use magic. And because she's, this little bitty petite blonde thing, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, good Lord. But like as the series goes on, there's a little less of that with her, which is kind of nice. It's a nice change in perspective, but like it still comes out every so often where he's like, yeah, I'd totally do that one. And I'm like, "Mm,
Oh, I was curious if like it was this kind of arc where it's like as they go on, she kind of proves herself of being worthy in his eyes of being more of an equal, which like obviously just existing as a woman, you shouldn't have to prove that you're an equal human being. But like I've seen that kind of arc in other things where, the kind of main female character is underestimated, especially in like the male character's eyes. But then, it's like, oh, she's kind of actually badass and, but that also is problematic because then it kind of goes into like, oh, she's just one of the boys kind of a thing. And it's just like,
um,
let her exist as a
I mean,
woman, but
she's
also be,
yeah, and like Murphy's like always one of the boys because she's had to
yeah.
work her way to the top, and she's a badass. Like as a character, I love her to death. She's my favorite. Her and there's an apprentice character later who I just love. They butt heads with Harry in the best way possible and really push him to be better than he is. So like we get there, but oh, it's like pulling teeth. And
Yeah.
like it's funny because like you actually root for him and Murphy to get together as the books go on because you can
Oh.
see her like pulling more from him and you're like, yes, he actually has some good character qualities. This is great. But like there's a couple of points where it's like, oh, we're this close. They almost got together as a couple and then well, that was a dumb reason for you guys not to do that. Okay,
They
whatever.
just kind of keep inventing reasons for them to not.
A
It
little
comes like a
bit.
will they, won't they kind of trope thing, which often doesn't end up great.
It always smacks of like friends, like with Ross and Rachel, and you're just like, can we not?
Yeah. It gets stuck. It can get so tunnel vision stories with that, and it can get stuck turning those wheels that like if the longer you stretch it out, the more disappointing the kind of result of that will be. Like so it's
Yay.
like I can see how the kind of the push and pull with that, especially over such a long book series, would kind of start to
Yeah. I
drag
mean,
things
thankfully,
down to
like
earth.
Harry has other like love interests come and go
Hmm.
throughout the series. So it's not just constant focus on Murphy and him,
Yeah.
but like it's still that, okay, obviously she's the best choice. What are you doing? But whatever.
I think a lot of it, I mean, I would imagine a lot of these tropes also stem from the fact that it's pulling from like the kind of hard-boiled detective genre. And like, I don't
A
know, I
little bit.
mean, noir, maybe not noir. I guess it depends on people's definitions, but like, it seems like it's pulling from like the Maltese Falcon kind of the third man sort of thing. A lot of my
A little bit.
references will be, I mean, I know that Maltese Falcon is also a book, but a lot of mine will be like f more filmic references. I do read, but I'm just like
I love
I'm much
movies too, but this
I'm
was
much
one of
more
those things I was like, I
steeped.
gotta fuss about it.
I'm just like I feel more confident pulling from my film knowledge than my book knowledge. So that's where it's um
No
and
worries.
like a big thing of that is like the femme fatale kind of trope. And it seems like at least earlier on in the book series that that's like a lot of what the books were kind of trying to play into, but that was
So
already
heavy-handed.
a it's kind of I see if they want to like pay homage to that and stuff because it's a genre I really like as well and everything. But it's like, okay, if you're gonna like modernize it, then modernize that too instead of feeling like you have to be doing what they were doing like in the 30s with it or whatever. Like,
Yes.
because if I was like reading on this, I was thinking of like when the Hays Code came into effect for movies and it put a lot of stringent rules on what could be depicted and what couldn't be and all this stuff, basically. It's really
Mhm.
fascinating history. If people don't know about it, like do research on it, or I don't know, I could go into it at a later date on another episode or whatever, but um basically it
I
was
wrote
like
it
just
down in my
like
notes, so I'll look it up later.
no, yeah, it's really fascinating. There's been a lot of great analysis on it. I even learned about it in school a little bit. And it was just like it was mass censorship like within movies and
Oh,
media because they were just, yeah, like I said, they're just putting a lot of rules on what could be depicted, what couldn't be, and how that should be depicted. And I bring it up here because as I understand it, for femme fatales, since they were often kind of quote unquote wild women and women that kind of eschewed the stereotypical gender role of how we expect a female character to be or femininity to be portrayed.
Mm.
If you had a femme fatale in your movies, they had to be punished. And in a lot of times that meant they had to be killed off. And so that's like
Oh,
why
God.
you look back at movies from that time, and if there's a femme fatale, she always has some kind of tragic fate attached to her by the end because there it's basically like you can depict this kind of woman, but we can't give the signal that it's like okay to be that way.
Oh
So
my gosh, I had no
she has to
idea.
get her comeuppance in some way. So it's like yeah, it's once you know more about like the Hays Code and stuff and go back and watch movies from that time, it really like stands out and you're just like these little assholes trying to
Oh,
control
I'm
the
never gonna be
narrative
able to
here.
watch some of those older films now because I'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, it's good right there.
And like obviously it dips into like you know, you couldn't have like queer representation and all that stuff. And like but you that doesn't mean it didn't exist. It just means people making stuff at the time had to be very creative with how they went about it or very careful with the language they used and stuff, which is like it's very fascinating. That's where you get a lot of subtextual things versus overt portrayals of stuff. But yeah, there was a lot of rules around how women could be shown and portrayed and yeah, the femme fatale. So it's like it kind of I bring it up because it's just like a whole lineage that precedes like the women that might crop up in this book. And I'm curious if you feel like that relates to the at least maybe earlier on in the series. Do you feel like a lot of the female characters meet gruesome ends or
There are a few because I'm like, oh,
yeah.
there was that chick, she died. Oh, and there was that one, she was super sexy, she just died.
Yeah.
Oh, ooh, crap.
Yeah, but it's like
There's
a
a
not like a
long list of
perfect trad wife type of female character. They're like, oh, you're not getting married and having babies, and you're promiscuous, and you're wearing certain things, or you're. I think the most telling thing about it is these women were often smart, as smart, if not more smart than the male characters, and would outwit them and like work like, oh no, they're at the male's level, so we got to knock them down a peg by the end. And so, when I was learning that the book series kind of maybe is pulling from those tropes or that genre a little bit, it made it more clear to me why there would be these
that.
kind of sexist overtures throughout the story and stuff. And it's just like it is
Mm.
frustrating. It's like we haven't learned, or you could have had a chance to play around with that and I don't know, subvert it somehow or something. But it's like I don't know. People have a loyalty to the certain genres they love though, and I can understand like loving that and being like, well, I want my chance to write my own in the way that I love it, but
Yeah,
it's like to what cost though?
I
Like,
know. Because like I feel like a lot of these things could grow with the times. Maybe
yeah,
I'm just
because
I
like
don't know.
that's what I was saying. Like it came out in the 2000s, and like there was tons of problematic stuff in the media with women then too. So it's like reading the
Yeah.
first one, I could understand it, but it's like if it's not kind of growing or evolving since then. I mean, it seems like you were saying it would kind of get better and then it wouldn't, and then it would. So it's like uh, it's weird
Yeah,
because if
there's
there's that would indicate there is a self-awareness around that, and it's like
right.
I don't know. I just know for myself, I would feel such an immense responsibility to handle that with more care and sense. And it's not saying that they can't be a part of something. It's how I guess you have the whole intention and impact conversation there where it's like your intention might not have been bad, but the impact of it isn't great. So it's like,
Yeah. Because
yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know, like reading it as a woman, I'm just like,
Hmm.
Butcher, you could be doing better. Like it's this shy of the mark, like so close. But there are just enough times where I'm like, do we have to do that? Like, really?
So it does sound like at least at certain points in the book he gets called out on this behavior. So I guess that goes back to being a little bit self-aware. Do you feel like that actually affects anything in the end, or is it kind of just like, oh,
Mm.
as long as we're kind of acknowledging it here and there, we can kind of get a pass to just keep doing it?
And that's kind of what I feel like is as long as he's acknowledging it, he feels like he can get away with it. And I'm like, but Harry's still very hairy. Oh,
But I feel like
gosh.
that falls back into the whole thing of like, oh, we can just, oh, that's just Harry, or that's just boys being boys kind of stuff, and that's like,
Yeah.
I would have the urge to want to see him grow beyond that because like that's what you want for characters, especially when you're sticking with them so long term, is to just
Right.
show some actualization throughout.
And like there are points where you can see him going, no, I'm not gonna bother to be like taken in by this woman. And I'm like, well, good for
Mm.
you because she was underage.
Oh,
But
oh
anyway,
no.
so that was a whole thing. And I'm looking at my husband going, are we seriously reading this? He goes, it gets better, hang in there. And I'm like,
He needs to
so
have some kind of like traffic light system where it's like goes from green to like amber and it's like we're getting there and then red. I'm just letting you know this is about to be about a 14-year-old, so hold on to your horses and stuff like
thankfully she was only 17, but I'm like,
oh
oh, that does
God.
not make it much better.
How old is he supposed to be? Do we know?
Um, how old is he when the series starts? Like pushing 40. I no, he's older than that.
I was picturing like a 50-year-old, but I
Oh.
mean,
Well, and like the timeline kind of more or less sticks pretty close to like our timeline. So like there's
oh,
modern
okay.
technology in the more recent books because they say things like, cell phones and GPS in cars and all this stuff. And like he makes a reference to how automated an SUV is in the last book. And it was really funny. Um, but I'm trying to think, oh shoot, I just got derailed. Sorry. Well, what was I gonna say?
I guess
So
if
I
it's
think
going year by year and it's been like 25 years ish that
yeah,
it's been a series.
I think it's been close to like 15 years in universe. So I want to
Okay.
say he's pushing 50.
Okay.
And like the world building is like he's gonna live to be hundreds of years old just because he's a wizard,
Okay.
which
Right,
I thought
right.
was really cool. But like
Yeah.
because they bring that up a few times where he's like, well, I get into a relationship with such and such person, but
Mm,
they're gonna die way before I will. And I'm like, oh, that's
yep.
kind of heartbreaking.
It's kind of
So that
like
was
the
heavy.
whole immortality conundrum, right? Like, would you really want to live forever if everyone you know and love won't be there with you? Or, or you kind of keep.
Yeah.
There's a book I'm reading right now that kind of deals with that, where it's like no one can ever remember the main character. And so she's
Oh,
just like always on her own. And it's like, what's the
oh, that's
point at that point? It just sounds extremely
heartbreaking.
lonely and everything. And it's like, yeah, that definitely gets into the whole, well, immortality sounds nice until you realize that it would probably be a very, very isolating existence. I'm like,
Serious.
I want to, it would be nice to like have an exploration of what it's like when it's, I mean, I guess there probably has been where someone's not the only person that's immortal, but that tends to seem the way we go with it. But I'm like, do we do that sad storyline with it because we're not immortal, so we want to make it sound bad for ourselves? So
Wait,
we're
can
not
we
just
do
going,
that?
oh, come on. I'm like, I get the human impulse to want to make that not sound like a good deal since that's not
Right.
reality. So said you already like kind of explained a little bit that the misogynistic moments kind of ebb and flow throughout it. Do you, as at least has there ever been a single instance where you felt like it served a purpose to the story, or was it always just a sore thumb?
Like the funny thing is, there's a couple of points where it actually does serve the story, which is like
Oh.
annoying.
It's like, don't
Because like
validate
there's one
this.
character that he has a relationship with, and there's huge repercussions like 10 books later, and you're like,
Oh.
oh, that's why she was there and then she wasn't. Okay. All right. And then like there's a whole lot of characters who like their main like superpower has to do with sexuality or whatever because there's like this whole branch of vampires that the way they feed on people isn't through blood, they do it through sexual acts, and then the person's dead. So that there's that whole
Whoops.
thing, which is like I'm like, okay, well that's cool, but I feel like this is the 10th bad guy to have a sexy thing going on.
Like, oh, another sex power. Here we go.
A little bit, because like there's the vampires, and then there's like the fae, and they're all super sexy. And I'm like, can somebody be ugly, please? Me and my husband were talking about it this morning because he was like, I just want to see a white court vampire who is ugly as sin and like just gross to look at, but can still use their powers perfectly.
There you go. I'd be on board
I'm
just
like, I like the
to
way you
have that
think. Why is
too.
everybody sexy?
Well, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like,
Like,
can we just like see an average person sometimes? Like,
yes, because everybody is stupid attractive. And I'm like, come on. The only character who's like described as like being kind of like whatever, pretty simple, kind
average.
of homely, is a mom character. And I'm like,
Oh,
I need justice for Charity,
disrespect.
man. Like, oh, that made me so mad
Disrespect.
because she's a badass character too. But because she's a wife and a mom and she's off the table, she can't possibly be attractive. Just made me mad.
Were any of those vampires or any of the sex-powered creatures male? Or were they
Yeah,
always okay? Well,
there's
there's at
one
least that.
recurring.
At least there's at least that.
Yeah, there's one recurring male vampire who's actually got a lot of really great character. And like, I love him. He's great. But like, oh, yeah, the rest are all women.
That's what I was just wondering. I was like, are the because I could see him like just creating a whole like harem of vampire women for the book, considering going off of what everything else sounds like. But I guess it's nice that there's some equal representation. I mean, I don't know if that's great because it's like, I mean, men shouldn't be objectified either, but
Well, it's funny because I think that vampire character is the only one who does get objectified.
huh,
'Cause, I guess you could almost say Harry does from time to time because he fits that whole, I think they say he's like 6'9", so he's, tall and
eh,
dark and
okay.
rugged, blah, blah, blah. He's got the trench coat, blah, blah, blah. And so like women are like falling all over him, and I'm like, but have you seen his personality?
Is he like
Really?
the kind of dark and brooding type that kind of becomes a bit of a
Not really.
until he opens his mouth?
No, he's more
No?
of
Okay.
a opens his mouth and everybody goes, "Oh, honey."
That's curious. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't give two craps about what anybody thinks of him, and he's gonna bull rush his way through every situation.
Okay.
It's really funny.
Because that brings up a good point because I didn't think about like his characterization compared to other characterization, especially like female characters and stuff. Do any of the female characters objectify him to the extent, or did they ever kind of switch that overly kind of gross description tactic towards him ever?
Well, because it's written in first person, we never
Oh, okay,
really
yeah.
get that kind of a switch. And the only short story that was written from a woman's perspective, we skipped because my husband was like, it doesn't go anywhere. It's a bad story.
Oh,
I was like, cool. That was the one time I wanted to read a short story really bad.
it's
Too
also
bad
like
it
it's like
sucked.
the one chance, like like more marginalized communities or oppressed communities like get like one shot a lot of times for things.
And
It's like again to compare to like a film thing, it's like, female-led films. It's like if that doesn't do well, they just write it off completely.
seriously, yes,
So
that's
it's
kind of what
like
it feels like.
it's disappointing that like the book did try to do that once and then it was like a dud. So now I feel like that's gonna just not ever motivate him to try. It'd be nice if
I
that wasn't
hope
the
he
case,
tries it
but
again with a different
yeah.
character further down the line. I don't know if he will because I'm with you. I think he'll probably be like, well, that one was kind of bleh.
I gave it a shot and it didn't work, so we're gonna go back to doing what I know. Um,
Back to Harry. Blah.
does Harry have any good qualities?
Honestly, like he's really like goofy and like
Mhm.
he uses constant movie references. So I mean, it's
Oh,
Star Wars reference after Lord of the Rings reference. I mean, and it's just funny. And then he's thrown a couple of weird ones out there where me and my husband look at each other and go, "I don't get that one. Do you? Nope, me neither. Okay, moving on."
I've heard that the books have really good sense of humor about them. I did read some snippets of like paragraphs and stuff, and it is very kind of like witty and has a really good pacing to it. Like there's definitely times where it seems like, he was just on a roll with whatever was going through his mind and it was just like, the humor was just like, at least from the reader perspective, seemed like it was just effortlessly kind of rolling out. And that's, you know, I mean, it seemed fun from the things that I that I read from it.
Yeah, overall, like the humor throughout is fantastic, and the world building is divine. Like most of the time, like what's it called? Suburban fantasy or urban fantasy, that's what it's called. Usually that doesn't land for me. And so when my husband
Okay.
recommended this to me, I was like, I don't know. I don't really like urban fantasy because it's usually garbage because the world building's kind of blah. This is so good. Because like usually when you have technology with magic, it's like, okay, but like now they can do anything. But the way
Mm,
they get around that is magic messes up technology. So he can't have a cell phone. He can't have internet. He can't have, all the creature comforts that we know. So he's got like a wood burning stove. He has an
wow.
ice box, like all
Wow.
this
He's
stuff,
like
because
salting
otherwise
his
he'd be
meat.
blowing fuses all the time. It's really funny. So
I mean,
it's
I
like,
guess
okay,
they
I can
like
see
you
that.
got to get around that obviously with like how much technology is just like a form of magic these days pretty much. So it's like
Yes,
I,
seriously.
it's great
So
that he
it's
kind of
really
met the
cool to see
challenge of
how he worked
that.
around that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I mean, like, because
Yeah.
I was like, I'm happy to have things to on here to, well, I don't maybe not phrase it happy to criticize, but like, I don't want it to just be like a sycophantic podcast where like only watching things that I love or someone else's love. I think it's nice to be able to have like nuanced conversations and point out like even if it's something you really like, oh, that part's not really great or that could do better, whatever. So it's nice to have those discussions, but I also don't want to just like completely shit on something. So I'm like, I mean, and these books are so popular, like that was like the biggest kind of takeaway from when I was trying to learn about it more was that just like it has such a loyal and intense fan base. Like a lot of the fans like that we're talking about were saying how they just like kept going back and rereading them like multiple times and finding new things and like it really and that made me really happy because I feel like that's not something that happens as much with literature anymore. There's obviously a certain standouts and everything, but I was like, I love that people are really like thinking and acting this way towards books because it's like
Right?
we need it.
Seriously. Well, the funny thing was, I don't remember who recommended these books to my husband, but he was like, yeah, whatever, I'll try them. Because he was kind of like between books and he was kind of in a reading slump and he hadn't read any
Yeah.
good fantasy in a while. And so he got into it and he was like, babe, we really got to read these together. And so he got like 6 books ahead of me. And so
Wow.
he'd
He
been getting them
speed
from the
through.
library and he was like, would you mind if we downloaded them?
Oh,
So he started the series over with me and he's been reading
oh,
them out loud.
great.
And he's like, he'll stop reading for a second, go, oh, I
It's
see what you
connecting
did there.
it.
And I'm like, stop, you're gonna give me spoilers.
I love that.
Because Butcher plays a long game. Because, like, so we're
Mm.
on book 13, and he just mentioned something that he talked about in book 1. And I was like, no, he did not. No way. I didn't even catch that. And of course, my husband's rereading. So he's like, oh no, that was mentioned here. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, that was really cool. Huh.
You get
Because, like,
rewarded, which
when,
is so great.
right. Well, and like when me and my husband write, like, we can think like 2 to 3 books ahead. 15? Can't do that. It's too far.
It's too overwhelming to think about, but
Seriously. So, like, to me, I'm like, okay, that's like next level writing. So I can kind of like excuse some of the male gaze stuff when
mm,
the writing is that good. Because
yeah.
thankfully, most of the male gaze stuff does not affect, I would say, 90% of the reading experience.
Okay.
Because it's like a description here, an interaction there. And it's like, oh,
So it's interesting that you say it didn't really affect the plot much.
mhm.
Um, because it's like it seems like to be such a standout point for people that read it. I mean, obviously it doesn't keep people from reading it.
Mhm.
But do you think it's like it's just because it's kind of folded into his kind of overall worldview enough that it's kind of just like I mean, you can get back into like it's just Harry being Harry, but like obviously it stood out to you enough to want to talk about it and it stands out like, when you Google it, it's like the first few things that come up. So it's
Seriously, it's
interesting that
sad.
it's like not something that actually seems to impact the plot enough, but seems to impact people's well, I mean, you said it didn't really affect the reading experience, but it It's
Like,
interesting that there's a kind of dissonance happening there a little bit.
yeah, like it's a weird gray area, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like there's parts where it absolutely impacts the plot because it is the plot.
Okay.
So like it just depends on the book because there are some where there's like no sexy stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is a breath of fresh air. You have to deal with a male character. Yes. And usually in those instances, it's like, okay, he described this one female character, breasting boobily, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, he got that out of his system, and now we can get back to whatever, and it's fine. Um, yeah, it's weird because like as a woman, those scenes bother the crap out of me. But like I keep coming back because the story is so engaging. And like Harry as a character in general is like, okay, he's such a goofy, bullheaded moron, that you want to see what he screws up next. And it's great.
Well, I guess it's like, do you think like it endorses that kind of point of view, or like it doesn't, and so that's why it doesn't really feel like
Ooh,
overall it would keep you from reading it or anything. I mean, like, and this can be maybe
ooh.
overly analytical, but because a lot of people are just like, "Ah, just let it be. It's just a part of the story." But I'm someone personally that I struggle to separate art from artists a lot of times. And so
I
like
do.
this stuff when it comes up does bother me and does make me go, how is this in context? Does it seem like it's giving it a pass? Does it seem like it's
Yeah.
criticizing it? Or is it just there to add color to the story?
And like early on, I would say it's just for color because
Okay.
it's just this is how Harry sees all women. And you're like, oh, goody.
Ugh.
That's great. But like as the stories go on, you start to see him kind of going, this is kind of a problem for me. Huh. I'm gonna do it anyway. And I'm like, oh, you were so close.
That's even worse. Again, it comes back to that self-awareness thing is like if you know it's not good and you keep doing it anyways, or you're not committed to trying to work on it, it does, I don't know, that would rub me the wrong way. But again,
I
like
know.
I guess if you've had characters calling him out on it, or I don't know, I'm just since I haven't read the books, I don't know like the real again context of how these things come up in the story, and if it seems like oh, it's just this kind of view is there to be funny, or if it's there. Yeah, I guess again, it comes back to the question as is like, do you feel like the books themselves don't care that Harry is sexist stuff? Because it sounds like it is this kind of like passive form of sexism where it's like it is to add color. It is maybe there to be jokey or to be like, oh, what a scoundrel that Harry always after chasing the skirts. And so like
Uh,
this old school kind of like again locker
yeah.
room boys will be boys kind of thing. But it's
It's
like
yeah.
we need to be past that at this point.
Well, and I feel like there's like a teensy bit of the boys will be boys with also, oh, how was I going to say it? Oh, crap. The ADHD is ADHD and hard today.
It's all good.
Oh, there was something you said and it made me go, oh, yeah.
I ramble
Dang.
too long.
No, you're good. All the brain cells got used up when I was homeschooling the boys.
Understandable.
Um,
I guess I would, if you just want like a different line of thinking to see if it comes back to you at all.
Oh,
Um,
I got it.
oh, you got it? You
So
got it? Yeah. Okay.
Harry's kind of thing is he feels like he very strongly feels like he has to protect the women and children, anybody
Ah,
that's like
okay.
weaker. And I'm like,
Sir.
okay, but like you've met Murphy and like this other character who is very well put together and can handle herself, and this one and that one. What are you doing?
You've been
I'm
given
just like,
examples, and yet it's like a
and
savior
it just
complex a little bit there.
he does. He really does. Because, like, anytime somebody comes to him who is a woman or a child, immediately he has to go, yes, you. Which, like, Butcher tries to play off as a good thing because,
Hmm.
Harry's trying to help what's the word? The marginalized or whatever. And
Yeah,
I'm
like less
like,
fortunate.
yeah. I'm like, okay, but you're doing it because
Yeah, it's like, what's
all
your
right.
real reason for doing it? Is it because you genuinely want? I mean, Because that you would think that if it was a true philosophy, it would apply to everyone and not just like really specific communities of people, which is like it's not bad to want to help people. It's not bad to see a woman or a child struggling and be like, "Yeah, I'll help you." But it's like, did they ask for it? Or have you repeatedly has the stories repeatedly contradicted this by showing you that capable women and all this stuff? And it's like
And it's the
it's a
contradiction that annoys me the most because it's like, okay, he
yeah.
has seen capable women, so why is he still being like this? Anyway.
That seems like it. Yeah, it could speak to his how he relates to masculinity and how that's what he feels like being a man is which is a very stereotypical like real world, role that we have created for men or put men in. It's
Sure.
also
Well,
like a
I'm the
mental health
protector.
thing where it's like what's in you that makes you feel like that, like is that how the only way you can feel useful and purposeful to people too, like that would be nice work for a psychologist to work on with him.
It's
If
so
he
funny to
doesn't
read these
strike
with
me as
my
the type.
husband. Well, my husband's a therapist. So
Oh,
there's sometimes where he's
perfect.
like,
I imagine engaging with media is so hard for people in that field because it's just red flags everywhere and like you should be in therapy, you should be in therapy. This is stemming from that, and this is the
and
trauma
this is
from
the seriously. Well, it's
never
so funny to
ending.
watch like a trauma narrative. Like my husband's replaying Life is Strange. And
Oh,
he's
yep.
just like, oh man,
Everywhere, trauma everywhere.
all over the place.
And no one dealing with it healthily. Come on.
No baby.
I've played the first chapter of that, so I'm vaguely kind of aware, of the storyline involved with that and everything. And yeah, it seems like that was gonna just yeah, that would be a big thing for mental health practitioner to
Dude,
I'm like
it's
this
so
this is the
funny.
only tip of the iceberg here, but it feels very trauma heavy here.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. It's intense.
So since we were already kind of talking about the existence of capable women being in this universe, it's not like every woman has been written as just being like the damsel in distress type thing. Is there like a specific female character that you think has had a really good arc in a book or throughout the story of it that you feel like they were done right by?
So, let's see. It's tricky to talk about this one without
I mean, you
giving
can
away a bunch
spoil
of
stuff.
spoilers.
I
Okay.
mean, I
Spoiler.
usually have spoilers in this, so it's like, listen at your own peril.
Well, I think it's like 7 or 8. Harry gets a an apprentice, and it's a
Hmm.
girl. And so her first story, she has to go through like all this stuff. Um, oh, I really don't want to spoil that because that whole book is
You don't
amazing.
have
But
to, you can how whatever you want to say. Just
but it turns out she can use magic. And you're
okay.
like, oh crap. And she was using it in a way that like directly violated the council of the wizards in this world. And so the council is like, okay, she needs to be put down. And Harry's like, no, 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 no. I'll keep her under my wing. And if she steps a toe out of line, then we'll do this trial thing over again, that kind of thing. And so, like, since then, it's been this, okay, you need to do better. You need to do better. And so she's like slowly growing and like realizing, oh, I need to not be a total doofus and, be blasé about what I can do. And I need to actually take this seriously. And it's been really cool to see that relationship grow because then Harry has to grow and be like, oh, I actually need to get better in this area so she can get better in this area. So there's this really good
Like
arc just
symbiotic.
between that.
Yeah,
Yes. Ooh,
that's
I
cool.
love that. So, and
Because
like
I was
she's
just
aged with the series too.
oh,
So
okay.
that's been neat to watch.
That's cool that
Yeah.
like yeah, I was wondering if that was like a one-off character or if she's still in it. But that's
Mm-mm.
cool that, it wasn't just kind of thrown away after she kind of learned her lesson or allowed it to kind of continue on and evolve. But yeah, because
Yeah.
I was just curious, since women feature a lot, and again, there have been ones that have been capable. If you felt like within those storylines, they did have their own kind of like sense of agency, or did it feel like they were kind of at the mercy of the other male characters around them? Or I guess even more specifically, how they interacted with Harry.
Usually, like Murphy always has her own agency because she's very, get behind me, get out of my way kind of person. I love her for it. She's great. Um, and like I wouldn't say she's had like a lot of growth
Hmm.
as far as her characterization, but like she doesn't really need it so much because she's not like super central to the plot. But then I'm only in book 13, so what do I know?
I mean,
But
that's far enough, I think, to get a sense of.
right.
I mean, I know I was
Uh,
like, how many books are there in this? Oh wow, it's been pretty consistent since it debuted. So,
and I think he's playing like 26 total. I'm
oh
like, oh my
wow.
gosh, man, I can't even imagine writing that many books.
Yeah,
Like, whoa.
that's intense. That's I mean, yeah, I don't know how any of you authors do it. I tried at it and I failed because I was just like, I don't think this is like a long-term commitment I can make. But so I'm in awe
It's
of anyone that
hard.
can write a book ever and like really see it through, no matter, if it becomes a bestseller or not, or whatever your metric of success is. I think if you complete a book, that's successful to me because
I win.
yes, you do. I mean, really, writers and specifically like long form, but I mean, any kind. I mean, like, I've written my whole life. I've had done my fair share of it, but yeah, novels, especially if it's like several,
I know,
that's like a
like I
superpower
can
to me.
like me and my husband, we write together, and like lately he's been doing most of the like the wordsmithing we call it. But like I picked up my own solo project and I'm like, wow, it is so much harder to be wordy than I thought it would be. Because like I got to the end of what I thought was a chapter and I pulled up my word count and I was like, 600 words, that's it? That's like
Oh
three
gosh,
pages.
that feeling where I'm like, I've been writing all day and it's like literally a paragraph, and I'm like, what the heck?
No,
How did this
no.
feel so draining when it's literally been a sentence? Like,
Well, it's funny. I was listening to I think it was a conference from like a romance thing from a few years ago, and they were talking
mhm.
about writing from your id and
No.
like finding out like what it is that you love in media and that all will always keep you going, even if the story's bad. And so she's like, make a list of all the things that you love and get that in your story because your readers are going to pick up on it. And honestly, like, I feel like that's kind of what Butcher's doing. You can tell
Mm.
he loves the crap out of this story and he loves the goofiness and, everything because he can keep going. And like, he's very prolific. Because, like, if I was going to write something that long, you better believe I'd have to love the daylights out of it.
I mean, I'm sure he's had his moments where he's just like, I don't know if I have more to say, but like you say, and that other person said, like, if it's something that's really deep within you and is even like on, on that kind of subconscious level and all that stuff, it's gonna come out, it's gonna show up in your work, so you might as well just like keep pouring it into this thing. So
Seriously.
I think that's decent advice. I mean, it's always good to try to come at stuff from a position of love or passion for anything, but anything can become a
Absolutely.
chore when you do it enough. But I think, especially with writing and especially with like world building, some stuff like this, it really has to be something that lights that fire because it's not you'll burn out
Seriously.
fast otherwise, so
For sure. Because like and readers can pick up on that when you
yeah.
can they can tell when it's a slog. And when you've
Yes.
just been like pulling teeth to get that paragraph out, it's like, okay, well, you found that in. So
I mean, I read a book it was the book that I read before the one that I'm currently reading, and I won't name it because I don't want to be mean, but like it definitely kind of like was one of the things where I could feel like the author kind of just gave up on the story and it just ended very suddenly and like anticlimactically. And I'm sure she wouldn't view it that way or talk about it that way. And like I'm sure she worked on this for a long time, so I'm not here to like poo-poo it or anything. But when you kind of just mentioned how like readers can sense things, it reminded me of that because like the whole story up to that point felt very impassioned and very like she had a point and she was standing up for something, and then it just kind of like ends, and I was like waiting for like the other shoe to drop on it. Like certainly there's gonna be a twist or something, and then it's just like dang it, wasn't. And I was like, this seems kind of just so incongruent with the kind of vibe she was putting out before and stuff. So it's like you're right. Like people can definitely sense that, and I'm sure it's what keeps people coming back to Butcher's novels as well. Is like it's impressive if your passion can also ignite passion in other people. And I mean, obviously, it's great if it's for your work, so you can get that money. But it's I think anybody that can create a fan base like that
Dude,
based off of just you having like a belief and a passion in this world and this work is I think it's a really beautiful thing. And again, it's
right?
just why I'm so impressed with any authors attempting that. Um, but it also makes me interested to know since you are an author and you're in that world, like how would you approach these novels if you were writing them? Or is there at least one storyline that bothers you, like, around like a female character that you're like, oh, I have a better idea for this, or I wish it had gone this way?
Well, really, I think it's just the descriptions. If he
Yeah.
could just dial back the descriptions so they're not so, like we said, breasted boobily constantly. Like, wow. There's one character who keeps showing up naked, and I'm like,
What?
why? There's no reason for that. That is moronic. You're just doing that to
For
make the reader
titillation.
go, like,
Oh.
stop it, stop it. No, down, bad.
Well, it's like I imagine like you get introduced to this character, you read all the horny descriptions for it, and then you see how the that story ends, and you're like, there was so much else going on with this person that they could have used to describe her. She's ruthless, she's funny, she's witty, she's clever, she's domineering,
Anything,
whatever it is. Like use some other
anything.
adjectives that are not about the appearance or about how much you want to be with them. Like
Yes. It's just like, oh, do we have to do this again? It's just,
and now I want there to be like some kind of fan competition where it's like, take your least favorite butcher female description and reword it to be more respectful.
yes.
I'd love to
Oh,
read
I'm gonna
those.
go do that this afternoon.
Yes. Oh my God, please, I would post them somewhere. I'd love to read them because, I did, some of the descriptions were the ones that I read, and it was a little like jaw-dropping, but I didn't want to be overly judgmental since again I hadn't read it, but I was like, surely this is satire.
Nope. Nope. Every
So,
book, there's at least
I
one female character where it's described like that, and you're just looking at them going, why?
or there was
What
like
was the point?
there was even one description that I read that wasn't about appearances and like sexualizing the woman, but like just these kind of generalizations about women, period, about like they'll never be I think the one I read was like they'll never be straightforward with you. If you want to talk to a guy, you need to be direct. And women have all these like covert, I don't know the exact wording. I should have copy and pasted it so I can read it, but
Oh. No,
it
I think I
was
remember that one. I don't remember which character he was talking about, but I was like,
it was like less about anything specific, and it definitely seemed like it veered into like, is this how he just actually thinks of women that we're just controlling and like really like trying to be purposefully confusing about how we communicate and like manipulative with how we and I'm like, that's unfortunate. Like it's because it's like you kind of go into certain things expecting the treatment of women to be sexualized and it to always come back to that. But then you get these like sweeping generalizations and it suddenly makes it seem like something much more insidious and something like it's actually starts to become feels like it's someone's belief and like conviction about it. And it's just like, oh
mm-hmm.
no, well, I guess I can see where the rest of it springs from. It's just like, you always want to be careful with generalizations. And I know it happens for men and non-binary people and anybody else too. Like everyone has generalizations applied to them and it always sucks. And like I get sometimes they can be useful just for, quick communication or, language is always evolving. But
Oh yeah.
I was surprised to read that more so than the kind of sexual descriptions because I'm like, oh no, this is like veering into incel territory a little bit.
Thankfully, I think that viewpoint kind of fell off in
Okay.
that book. I'd have to find that one again. But yeah, I remember reading that and I actually stopped my husband. I was like, are you kidding me? He goes, yeah, that was kind of gross.
Like, so about that, that happened. So, since you're haven't like traditionally been into like urban fantasy and stuff, do you think after getting into this you're more open to reading it or because like fantasy has traditionally been a harder genre for me too, so I'm always a little hesitant.
The
and I
funny
always
thing
like
is,
to
I
hear their.
love fantasy.
Okay.
So, like, this was like without the urban bit, I was like, this sounds
Yeah.
right up my alley. I
Okay.
love the sound of it. A snarky PI who is just a dork and has a Coke obsession and Burger King obsession. Like, it's hilarious. But,
They always
like,
have unhealthy lifestyles, where they're just like it's always a greasy hamburger in one hand and like a bottle of pills in the other. Like
every time he gets the crap kicked out of him, he's like, we're going to Burger King.
it's like I need myself a little treat too. Even saviors
But
need a little Mickey D's every now and then.
yeah. Well, I think there was one where he actually walked out of the restaurant with a crown and everything. And I was like, wow, that's hilarious.
See, like, that's like I think that's kind of a cute characterization to kind of just so there's more sides to him where that like even though he's like this rough and tumble guy doesn't mean that he doesn't have these other softer dimensions to him every now and then or
Well, he's a
like, you know.
total dweeb. Like, and that's the best part about him is he's just a dork. But he's a really smart dork who makes
Yeah.
really bad decisions.
Well, it wouldn't be entertaining otherwise, right?
Nah. Well, most of the time when we finish a chapter, I'll be sitting there knitting and I'll just go, poor stupid Harry. And my husband will go, yep, poor stupid Harry.
Just we just pity Harry. Is there
Yeah.
anything else about the kind of book series that stands out to you in terms of its gender representation? I mean, do they have
Mhm.
like strictly non-femme or non-mask characters at all? Or it's just okay. I mean, I know it
Not
started,
really.
it's a product of its time in some ways of where it started, but it just made
Well,
me
and I don't
curious.
know that Butcher was terribly concerned about representation or
Right.
anything, even in the more recent books, because I think the more recent ones came out, let's see, the last one came out, I think in 2020, and then
Okay.
a couple in like the aughts, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or the late aughts. But yeah, I think no, there hasn't even been like a gay character as far as I know.
Yeah, that's surprising. Well, that's kind of
So,
like goes back to my point of like you're working in this genre where you could do anything. And like you do with all these other fantastical characters and all this stuff. It's like you can believe there's a world where there's like wizards and vampires and whatever else, fae, but you can't conceive of like a gay person being involved. Like it is, I think it's just an interesting, just like from a anthropological point of view of like the human race that like we no matter how far we expand stuff we still end up like in these trappings of I mean because all we know is our culture and society of course but it's like even with testing the bounds of our imagination these kind of things still pop up and I find that very fascinating for better or worse it's always just been something that's really like stood out to me when I'm watching stuff in these or reading stuff in these genres that you know can't help being human at the end of the day because it's always going to be coming from that, initial point. So, um,
yeah. Well,
and
and I think we touched on this earlier, talking about how Harry views his masculinity and all that
mm,
stuff. So I wonder if like part of that just kind of comes out into the narrative because there's one
yeah.
like I think it's like maybe part of a chapter where somebody assumes Harry and this other guy are a couple,
Mm,
and it's played off as a joke, which I
hmm
was like, ooh, that could be bad taste.
It's
But I mean,
common.
yeah, but like I do wonder if a lot of it comes from just I don't know if it's like just Harry's worldview or if it's Butcher's worldview of,
Right.
it's hetero and that's it.
It's like the
So I
homo
don't
no
know,
homo thing, like
a little bit.
God
So which
forbid
is
men
surprising
be
this day
close
and
to each
age.
other kind of a thing. It is very kind of a regressive and reductive portrayal of masculinity. But again, far from the only depiction of that. It's something that we obviously still struggle with and men still struggle with in a very real sense now. So it's like it is
Yeah,
sad to just see those patterns keep cropping up and they keep being reinforced, whether they intend to or not, just through the depictions and writing of characters like that. And it's just like without having exploration of it attached, I guess, as well. Because like you can,
yeah,
I don't mind. My kind of like philosophy on this stuff is like I don't mind problematic stuff being incorporated as long as you're willing to explore that and give it and honor it and respect what you're bringing into the fold and not just throwing in there for like dramatic effect or titillation. So it's like
right.
make him this very stereotypical kind of manly man thing, but also like dive into why he is
Challenging.
like that. Yeah, challenge that narrative and everything. Like that
Yeah.
would be, I think, and that's also just me being nerdy in that I love analyzing that stuff and I love deconstructing those things. So that is inherently more compelling and entertaining to me than
Yeah,
just kind of reinforcing it without any sort of depth to it, I suppose. Um, but it definitely seems like I think knowing that he has such a kind of traditionally masculine representation really makes sense in contrast to the kind of female portrayal. Like it really kind of clarifies that more, and they go quite hand in hand and stuff. So yeah, so I mean, it was really great to learn about it. Thank you for coming on and having this discussion. Again, it's really fantastic to be able to talk about books. I'm always a big proponent of reading, and I have had this series recommended to me, so I need to definitely add it to my list, and I hope to get to it soon, and it'll be interesting to see how angry I get when I come across those passages.
you just get past those scenes and probably skip book two because it's kind of blah. But yeah,
Okay. I need like a breakdown. I need to look like what is the best way to read because fans often have their whole like this is how you should read it or this is whatever. But
uh,
I don't know. I tend to be a bit of a completionist, so I'd probably just get through it anyways. But
well,
um
when me and my husband were reading it together, he goes, "We're gonna skip book two because it's kind of worthless." I was like, "Cool, thank you."
I mean, it is helpful. Yeah, I often defer to people who know if I already know they're a fan about something and I'm about to like engage with it. I do often ask like, does this get better or is this character hang around because I kind of like them or is this worth it? Do you think I'm gonna keep liking it or should I just kind of cut it off? So it's always great to have someone around who's more knowledgeable about the fandom than than you are
For
to kind of
sure.
be your
Well,
shepherd through it.
especially with a long series like this, because you're like,
Yeah.
okay, is it worth my time? I don't know. Oh,
If you want people to get on board, let them get on board in the way that works for them, you know? That's what I
amen.
say.
If it's palatable, do
There you
that.
go. Well, thank you again for coming on. It's been a really fun and interesting conversation. And I really look forward to your revisionist Jim Butcher female descriptions in the future.
That'll be fun.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carly.
Well, there you have it. Book report done and dusted. Again, I'm really happy to be able to bring you an episode that's in a different medium, and it's something I hope to be able to do more of in the future. Even though film is kind of my bread and butter, obviously gender kind of covers the expanse of all kind of art and media. So I would like to delve into all the crevices possible, and that's definitely um, the phrasing that I'm going to stick with for sure. It doesn't sound creepy at all. Anyways, please check out the episode notes and blog links for Di's work and her socials. As you could hear discussed in the episode, indie authors need and deserve all the love that they can get. So it's really important to show her the love and show any independent kind of writer and author you come across the love. They're working very hard for very little. So it's really important to elevate them as much as we can. I also wanted to tell you that like I'm officially on social media now for the podcast, but it continues to be a hellscape out there. So I've decided to not engage with that at least for now. So it's more important than ever to just share and subscribe and use word of mouth for the podcast because it's really the best promotion that I have at this point. So any love that you can also show it and share and spread around is just very, very appreciated, very necessary. And, that does it for this episode of Gender Pop. Remember, reading is not only fundamental, but also cool and very badass. See you next time. Thanks for listening.